What's the easiest way to ruin your life in your opinion? Fixing your marriage by having a baby. Picking the wrong partner. Crack sugar. I once ruined the id out of my life with crack and it affects my life to this day. I've been clean for over 3 years now and I never intend to do it again. I'll take another approach. Car accident. Everything else people are talking about here requires you to go out of your way to make a tempting yet risky choice. Driving is hard to avoid. Nobody can do it all the time without making a mistake once in a while. Make it at the wrong time and you're dead crippled. For something you spent so much energy trying to avoid. Edit. This really blew up. Thanks everyone. Sugar is God's way of telling you you're making too much money. Robin Williams. Drug addiction. Excluding obvious things like murder and addiction, unchecked negativity, rudeness, aggression, insults, even offhanded it. Not only does a lot of that outlook become habitual and in turn you begin treating yourself worse than you should, but also it literally just takes one dude having a bad day and then you're 6 feet under and he's in jail. Overdose on Tylenol. It's cheap. You can find it everywhere. You won't die right away but your life will be miserable and painful until you do. People do it all the time, on accident, and on purpose. From personal experience, becoming disabled only took 4 months for me. Edit. Thank you for the awards guys and I've also been reading the stories you're all sharing. I'm sorry if you've been through this. Hating yourself. Attempting suicide by shotgun to the head but the blast only takes your face off and you live. Join the wrong friend group at a young age. It's often one of the main causes for the other ones starting. Drugs, crime, teen pregnancy acts, and can ruin entire morals. Apart from drugs, mismanaged credit. So many people I know could have fairly decent lives with their income, but instead are buried in credit card debt and bank loans. Many of them even have high incomes. Just one example. Family friend. University degree in chemistry. Stable job but drives a 1994 Cavalier in the worst conditions. Her brother died and she got enough money to put a huge down payment into an apartment, 70 to 80%, and pay some major debts. Kept saying it was too small and ended up getting more debt and the money vanished. It is very easy to get crazy high limits on credit cards but too many people treat them like free money. Getting pregnant and having a kid when you didn't want one. The task itself to get there is pretty easy to do lol. Getting married very young when you don't even know yourself. An eating disorder will do it pretty damn quick. Jab both of your eyes. It only takes a split-second decision and you will have to go the rest of your life remembering what it was like when you could see. Marry someone just to have sex with them. Suddenly becoming disabled. I am unable to work anymore, never again. I spent my entire life working with animals, training horses and dogs, showing and riding horses from 2 to 32 each breath lived, then never to work, ride, show or train. Working with abused or aggressive horses to help them. Gone in less than a second after. The first of many health issues. Breaking cervical vertebra. It all went down from there. Edit. To add was injured playing soccer not riding. Procrastination. Being rude to dismissing people you love. I was horrible to my little brother growing up. I didn't actually harbor any hate for him and he's never done anything so horrible to me that warranted the verbal abuse I put him through. But we were going through some trauma and I subconsciously saw him as an outlet, because he was the only one younger than me in the family. He's currently in the hospital after a suicide attempt. My childish brain didn't register that I wasn't the only one going through the trauma. He had nobody and still has severe trust issues. I would give everything to go back and be around for him. I would trade his pain with mine any day. I regret every single thing that I did and I'm sure that I partly contributed to his depression and suicidal tendencies. It'll ruin me forever. Edit. Some people are reaching out to me to advise me to make it up to him and apologize. I appreciate the advice but I did already. Multiple times. Although it won't be enough. He's my best friend and he now has more trust in me than probably anyone else. We're really close and practically share the same brain. I just very much regret the way I treated him and I blame myself for a huge part of his emotional pain. Avoiding things. Allowing yourself to think that your life is ruined. Ignoring and not facing your trauma. It only grows and gets worse unless you face that head on. This is kinda controversial, but some people just aren't meant to have kids and end up with some anyway. I know a few people who absolutely despise their lives because they ended up with kids. Sure, they love their children, but they're still salty about having to give up on their aspirations. Growing up in a toxic family. Experimenting with painkillers. There is no such thing as dabbling. You might think you're stronger or not at risk, but they'll sneak up, grab you by the throat, and destroy everything you value and love. It's been a year and a half since I've touched anything intoxicating, and I still have a huge hole that I don't know that I'll ever truly dig out of. Financially, emotionally, relationships. If I had a time machine, I'd go back in an instant, and I'm one of the lucky ones that made it out. And statistically I very well still might not make it, no matter how good I feel today. Plenty I know and love did not make it out. Their loved ones have to carry that hole forever. Just don't start. Not even once. Mental illness. You don't even have to do anything. It'll just happen. Going to a for-profit art school. The school was great. As someone who grew up poor and creative, who didn't have a stable home life and barely graduated high school, the normal college route was unattainable. However, they had no problem heading an 18-year-old with no financial experience or knowledge a stack of loan papers and telling them this college will change your life. You will make enough money in your new career to pay these back in a few years. The experience was pretty amazing. I even met my now husband there. Fast forward 3 years post graduation and we are over $500,000 in student loan debt. This is also in 2008 during one of the biggest recessions of our lifetime. I went to school for photojournalism. I would not find a job that would pay enough for rent, let alone a $2,000 a month student loan bill. Forbearance and daily compound interest made that total increase about $30K a year. I've started an advocacy group for my alumni. The school's long been shut down. The 500 or so folks I've collected loan data on, we are collectively in over $70 million in debt that will follow us for a lifetime. We can't get mortgages, car loans, and because they lied about accreditation we can't go back to school for real degrees because none of the credits will transfer. We have several lawsuits in the works. Fight for borrower defense to repayment. There has been some welcomed forgiveness to other bad actor schools like it and Corinthian. But these for-profits are still operating and lobbying. We are still on the hook for the debt. Don't go to for-profit schools, folks. Getting bitten by a tick. Very hard to see or know it's on you until it's too late. Found out we have those here now, and as someone that likes nature it terrifies me. Also, covering up when it's middle of summer is not exactly realistic, and even if you do, they can still get in your hair, beard, etc. Fighting. Only takes losing control for a second to go from disagreement to felony, especially since the culture nowadays is to slam knock out someone. One wing move and it's a major charge. Hating people for no reason. I mean getting jealous cause you gonna ruin her life for sure. Fentanyl's still battling to get out of this addiction. It's known to be one of the worst drugs going around right now. I had such a happy life, and once you start those pills it's all fun and games to one day you realize nothing makes you happy unless you're high and numb. Take it from me, never do opioids. Post something racist, homophobic, etc. online with your real name attached to it. For me it's drinking. My last drink the 26th of January 1970. Over 50 years and still working it a day at a time. According to my toddler, it's when you accidentally break the banana in half while you're eating it. Poor communication. Not being able to speak for yourself properly can be detrimental. Having children. People need to understand. 1. It's okay not to want kids. 2. It's okay not to like kids. 3. It's totally possible to live a blissfully happy life without having kids. 4. Having kids is a life choice, not a given next step or a natural progression of life. Porn addiction is really underrated, that it ducks you up in the long run. Anything that ends with YOLO. Passiveness. Doing nothing will ruin your life cause you'll never end up doing what you actually want. Move to that city. Go for that girl. Apply at that job. Whatever it may be, you gotta put in the effort. Meth. Drugs really. But I've seen firsthand what meth does. Alcohol. Duck that it. Infidelity. Ignoring your health. Lost my mom because she did this. Nearly lost my dad. And my husband is diabetic now. All because they ignored their health. As a serial self-sabotager, I assure you there is nothing I can create that I can't destroy in a day. Inaction. Not doing the things you want and living your life how you want will ruin it and leave you full of regrets and reminiscing about the past, which might lead you into a depression and cause even more inaction. It's your life, do with it what you may, but make sure you have fun and die with a life full of happiness. Taking life seriously. I just remind myself daily how lovely life can be, if you choose to. My life, you say? Aside from the obvious things like doing something to get a criminal record or stubbing my pinky toe, not much to be honest. I'm at a pretty low point in my life. ATM. Can only go up from here really. Fall in love with the wrong and otherwise unavailable person. Just start pooping in your pants everywhere. The office, your significant other's house, when you're at the movies with your friends. It'll do just the trick. Social media. Everything is going fine all day and then one comment goes viral. Refusing to get vaccinated for COVID. It will limit the places you can go, cost you your job, and maybe even your life. Takes zero effort. Unless you count trolling people to tell them how stupid they are for getting vaccinated and providing some false information about COVID or why vaccines are the budgie man. Vaccines are free. Over 200,000 people are dead from COVID since vaccines were available. Most of them were unvaccinated. Drugs. It real hard to come back from that. Source. Been clean for 6 years and lost a bunch of friends along the way. Constantly making bad decisions. Unpopular opinion time. Having a kid. Hurting people while having a conscience. Ask me how I know. Ducking sucks to never sleep well, and the very few times you can sleep better, you wake up screaming because you get nightmares. In mine, I get forgiven by the people I hurt. Getting killed with kindness does, in fact, hurt a lot when you're actually sorry. The sense of futility you get when you do everything you can to atone and they just go it's fine, I forgive you is horrible. Like it was all for nothing and you're a fool for caring. And you still can't forgive yourself because you know you suck. Seriously, if you're gonna be a bad guy, make sure you're actually a bad guy and don't care, because guilt weighs heavy and you will have to carry it to the grave. Easiest, I'm going to go with obesity. Most people gain the weight over time. Each 20-pound increase adds another level of difficulty to your life until you're at the point of no return. It is possible to lose the weight, but it is incredibly difficult. Loose skin and other factors will also stay with you. Food addiction is very common, especially in America where sugar tends to be added to a lot of things. Unlike drugs or alcohol, you don't have to seek it out. Everyone has to eat. But if you make the wrong choices, it'll get you in big trouble. Start drinking. Don't stop. Drugs are harder to find. I can get beer or liquor on every corner. Having a relationship with a pathological narcissist. Even if you're a confident, happy person, they will destroy your life. Inflexibility. If you cannot, or will not, accept change or the possibility that you are incorrect, you are doomed. It's not a sign of strength to zealously defend the indefensible, nor is it a sign of weakness to admit that situations change or that you are capable of error. Dog dedication to a dogma with no adaptation to reality is the surest way to lose jobs, friends, and lovers. Being born into a poor family. Kill a person in front of loads of people. Follow the advice of your bank. Blame anyone or anything else for your unhappiness. Getting married and having kids with the wrong woman. Not getting a vaccine because you don't believe in COVID and then dying from COVID. My parents always tell me it's if I ruin my credit. Social media. 5 years unemployed. No career or partner prospects anymore. Totally isolated, and all because of Facebook and Instagram. Sorry guys, I'm not sorry, but this Silicon Valley ruled techie world we live in is turning out to be a real nightmare and is really not for me. I was much happier before the internet. Like really much happier. I don't actually believe in ruined lives. I believe that every day you're offered a choice of doors to open and paths to follow, and each of them leads to a different selection of doors. Some of them lead to lightness, and some of them lead to dark, but they all lead somewhere. You can always make a better selection tomorrow. I'm fascinated by people's worst decision of their life stories. Some people are fortunate that their worst decision only had a mild impact, while others have truly ruined their lives in a split second. Terrible, not thought through decision. I find myself being able to empathize with people who are facing consequences for uncharacteristic, but awful, choices. Not excusing them, but just thinking about how tragic it is to ruin a life. Having kids. It would absolutely wreck my physical and mental health. Take away my freedom, time, money, suck the life and will to live out of me, and leave nothing but a decaying, empty shell of who I am. Sex, money, feelings. Die likely. To give up on yourself, your dreams, your ambitions, and your values. There was that Reddit post of a guy who shot up heroin because they were convinced that they were basically immune to addiction. Guess what? They got addicted to heroin and struggled for a few years to get clean. Addiction. Some are worse than others, but they all end the same way. Listen exclusively to Fox News. For me it was heroin. 9 years clean next week. Refusing to be vaccinated. To not take responsibility for it, as an adult. How your life is directly the result of choices you make. Stop blaming others for where you are. Stop looking for others to save you from your situation. Rape, sexual assault. As the abuse and murder of Sarah Everard here in the UK is currently in the news, I'm going to say this. Her rapist was a police officer who used both his police warrant card, badge, handcuffs etc. to arrest her for breaching COVID curfew, which makes it all the more chilling. He then bundled her into the back of a car where he raped and killed her. He then tried to burn her body and dispose of it. I'm saying abuse is easy because it's happening all the time and people get away with it. The prosecution rate, speaking only for the UK here, is a measly 1.6%. And yet it seems that everyone either has been or knows someone that is a victim of it. The physical harm aside, longer term it can have extremely serious psychological effects on victims. And that's without going to court to face your accuser and be cross-examined by someone making the case that, somehow, you wanted to be raped. I've heard accounts from women whose experience in the court system while seeking justice have been more detrimental to their mental health than the crime itself. One woman who was abused from the age of 5 and now an adult, broke down in court as the defense team asked her if she behaved in a slutty manner. At the age of 5. What the duck? Whatever way you cut it, it's far too easy to become a victim of it and far too easy to get away with it.